Once there was a pretty little girl who lived in a house that had a little garden. La, 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 la. They shared good dreams, secrets, memories, every lovely day to go down in history. Forever and ever, everywhere they go.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. The Delhi police have come under scathing criticism for their handling of the recent riots. With me to discuss the accusations and allegations they face, as well as how the problem can be tackled, is the former Commissioner of Police in Delhi and the former Director General of the Border Security Force, Ajay Raj Sharma. Mr. Sharma, let me start with what Justice Joseph in the Supreme Court said on Wednesday. And I'm quoting him. Lack of professionalism of the police is the main problem here. If you had not allowed people to get away with inflammatory remarks, all this would not have happened. As a former Commissioner of Police in Delhi, how do you respond to this?
Well, his observation is quite correct in my eyes. And what he has said about taking action against those who are giving inflammatory speeches and they have not registered any FIR. In fact, the story begins much before that. This is in between. The story begins from Shaheen Bagh. If Shaheen Bagh had not taken place, this riot would not have taken place. And I have analyzed the whole thing in my mind as an outsider. I have no internal information. That Shaheen Bagh was leading to communal tension because of the slogans being shouted there. The first mistake of the police, in my eyes, was to allow Shaheen Bagh to take place. Within a few hours, if they saw people are squatting there and the numbers are increasing, they should have turned them out from there. No question of allowing that. See, anything that obstructs public traffic or the roads meant for the traffic, they are committing a cognizable crime. And when a cognizable crime takes place, you have to act as a policeman.
So the first lapse on the part of the police
Yeah.
was allowing a cognizant offence to happen and continue by permitting the gathering at Shaheen Bagh, which was holding up traffic.
Yeah. Now, as Shaheen Bagh, more and more days took place and nothing was being done, the people at Shaheen Bagh and those persons connected with them, they're bringing food for them and all. Obviously, they have to get food if they're going to sit there for 60 days. But all this was creating a wrong atmosphere, which was not conducive to peace in Delhi. And then the Delhi state elections came, in which all sorts of inflammatory speeches were being given, and the atmosphere is becoming more communal.
And that's again where the police made a second mistake.
That is the second stage.
Now, those inflammatory speeches lasted for a whole month. They
Yeah.
began with Anurag Thakur saying,
Yeah.
Goli maro salon ko. Then there was Parvesh Verma's claiming that Shaheen Bagh was going to rape our mothers and sisters. And
Yeah.
finally, Kapil Mishra actually threatened that if the protesters were not cleared out in 3 days, he would himself do it. He said so in so many words. And right through this, the police did nothing.
No, they should have acted when these speeches were being made. Actually, the system is that a shorthand person who takes shorthand dictation, he should have recorded every word of it, or now you could have used a tape recorder to record these speeches.
So you would have had proof.
Yes, we would have proof.
And action should have been taken by the police immediately.
Immediately after the speech had been completed and it was done, it should have been examined, and then at the best they could inform the Home Ministry that this person is a minister and he has this offence is made out.
So in the case of Anurag Thakur, who's a minister who was saying Goli maro salon ko,
yes.
even if the police didn't arrest him immediately because he's a minister, the Home Ministry should have been informed.
Yeah, they should have been informed, and then the action should have been taken.
And after informing them, the man should have been arrested, even though he's a minister.
Obviously.
Let me put this to you. You're very clear. Even a minister, after informing the Home Ministry, should have been arrested. But look what happened in the case of Kapil Mishra. Kapil Mishra actually made his inflammatory statement standing beside the DCP Northeast Ved Prakash Surya.
Yes.
And Mr. Surya heard it in silence, did nothing, and this was inflammatory.
You see, things have gone so wrong. Slowly, things have deteriorated. I'll give you an example that in UP, a very serious case of murders took place in which 8 people were killed, including 2 policemen. And the local people, the residents of that area, said we will not allow these dead bodies to be lifted until and unless Mr. Mulayam Singh comes here, who is the Chief Minister. And what they were saying was that this has been done by a cabinet minister of Mulayam Singh's government, and an FIR should be registered against him so that action can be taken. The local administration, the district magistrate, the SSP, the DIG, the commissioner were just sitting and listening. They would not take action because it was a matter of a minister. So when things became very bad and those bodies started stinking and there was going to be revolt in that area, then Mulayam Singh either had to go or give orders that the case should be registered. But he did neither of the two. He sent me instead. I was the ADG, Law and Order of the state. So I went and I asked the SSP and district manager, why have you not registered a FIR? So they said he is a minister. I said, in which section of the Indian Penal Code says, or Criminal Procedure Code says, that a minister FIR can't be registered against the minister?
Absolutely.
So he said, sir, I said, you should have spoken to Mulayam Singh and told him that your minister is this and we are going to do it.
So building on this story, because it's a very important telling story, if you had been Commissioner of Police when Anurag Thakur conducted a rally where he made people say Goli Maro Sanoko, you would have had him arrested.
I would have had him arrested after informing the government.
And you would have done the same to Parvesh Singh Verma and Kapil Mishra.
For that, no permission was required.
You would have done it immediately.
Yeah, a person who's an MLA, then only the speaker has to be informed that this man was committing this offence. We have registered a case and arrested him. That's all that is required.
And that doesn't even apply to Kapil Mishra.
Yes.
He's not an MLA.
So I am saying that if he was an MLA, that is the most. And a person who's not an MLA, nothing, there is no obstruction in arresting him.
Tell me, what would you have done about Ved Prakash Surya, the DCP Northeast, who stood beside Kapil Mishra when Kapil Mishra made his inflammatory statement and Mr. Surya did nothing? If you had been Commissioner of Police, what would you have done?
I would have called for his explanation immediately, that under what circumstances did you not take action or stop him from speaking further. You see, if he had spoken 2-3 lines which were inflammatory, the DCP should have intervened and told him, sir, please don't do this. You are doing something which will amount to an offence and we will have to take action against.
Instead, the DCP is standing there and smiling.
And if he had stopped, then it was okay. If he had not stopped, then he would have had to proceed.
So you would have, as CP, called for an explanation from Mr. Surya immediately.
Immediately.
And if the explanation wasn't satisfactory,
he would have been removed from his post.
He would have been removed from his post.
Yes. Somebody else would have been posted.
How different is the behavior of the present Commissioner of Police?
The behavior is before everybody. I need not comment on that.
Are you
But as I said, that things have deteriorated. In my time, we were taught that after an external aggression, the communal riot is the most serious thing that can happen in the country. It should never be allowed to happen. And if it happens, the local officers have to pay for it.
Let me come to what the Delhi police said to Justice Muralidhar in the Delhi High Court.
Yes.
Justice Muralidhar asked them, have you heard these 3 hate speeches? Anurag Thakur, Parvesh Singh Verma, Kapil Mishra. And the police said no. And if this wasn't a serious answer, most people would have said it's a joke, it's laughable. Can you believe that the Delhi police were not aware, had not heard these hate speeches, including Anurag Thakur?
I don't think it is possible, but I don't know what made them say that.
But you don't think it's possible that they would not have heard it?
They would have heard it. Their officers would have heard it even if they were not on the spot, and they would have reported it to them.
So what the Delhi police was saying was not the truth?
Yes, certainly. They were hiding the facts.
Let me point out one other thing. In Delhi, even today, the Delhi police are unable to file FIRs against people who made hate speeches. They find one excuse or another, they keep asking for more time, and the Delhi High Court has now given them up till the 23rd of March. In Hyderabad, in contrast, where hate speeches were made, FIRs have been filed not just against the people, but against WhatsApp, Instagram, and Twitter for carrying those messages. Look at the difference in the
Yes,
two police
yes.
forces.
No, I feel very bad because I've been the commissioner of this police. And in my time, at least, things were not like this.
Let me ask you this. Do you get the feeling that today the Delhi police is scared of the BJP or intimidated by the government?
Perhaps. There is no other explanation.
You've been commissioner of police. Your entire career was with the police. How disillusioned are you? How dismayed by their functioning now?
You see, things have changed a lot, although the same law prevailed then and now. And the same malaise also prevails. Why I'm saying that is that people don't seem to realize the importance of the police and what a role it plays. You see, if police was to be removed for 3-4 days from Delhi, no police on the road, no police in the police stations, what do you think will happen?
But it seems to me that the present commissioner of police and the present DCPs working under him also don't understand the importance of the police.
Yes, definitely. And there would be chaos. And that chaos would be comparable to something like the state of nature, about which Thomas Hobbes wrote in his Leviathan. So that is the importance of the police. Somebody said, who did not like the police, that police is an evil.
But a necessary one.
But it is definitely a necessary one because you can't do without them.
You
So
were-
the better thing is to remove the defects of the police or try to understand why they are not able to function properly.
So you're, by quoting Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan, suggesting that the police, by failing to act properly, is making life nasty,
Yeah.
brutal and short
Certainly.
for all of us. Let me ask you a quick question. Would you say the police mishandled the riots that have just ended?
You see, I can't say these things emphatically because I'm not in the know of many factors.
But you feel-
But what I see on the road, what I see what is happening, I'll certainly say that it has not been handled correctly.
It hasn't been handled correctly.
Yes.
And do you feel disappointed as a policeman when your successors do this?
I feel disappointed as a policeman when I find the type of criticism that is being made of the police and the way they seem to be a totally demoralized group of people.
Let me now come to what Mr. Prakash Singh, a highly regarded former DGP of UP and one of your predecessors as Director General of the BSF,
Yes.
has said about the police functioning in Delhi during the riots. He says the ongoing violence in northeast Delhi was waiting to happen. It was the culmination of weeks of dithering and selective action on the part of the Delhi police in dealing with those agitating against the Citizenship Amendment Act. In other words, this could have been easily prevented if the police had acted. Their failure to act in advance actually allowed a riot to happen.
This is exactly what I said earlier when I began Ryan Bagh. What I said was that this was all the time it was boiling and days passed in the same condition and the police never thought about it to intervene.
I take your point that in fact the starting point for acting was when Shaheen Bagh first
Yeah.
broke the law.
The first few days of Shaheen Bagh.
But actually what Mr. Prakash Singh is saying is even shorter and simpler. He says violence was simmering in Jafrabad from Saturday evening, early Sunday morning. It should have been prevented, it could have been prevented, and the failure of the police to prevent it, he says, is not just negligence, it's irresponsibility.
He's correct.
He's correct.
Yes.
So here you're saying the police were negligent, they were irresponsible.
They were definitely negligent.
Irresponsible as well?
Their action was irresponsible. They must have been, most of them must have known that it is their responsibility to ensure that no violence breaks out. But I don't know what was keeping them away from.
I want to come
taking
back to that. You're saying they should have known what was necessary, and failure to do that, failure to act is irresponsible.
Yes, of course.
Why do you think they didn't? Was it political pressure?
I can't say, but the fingers will point towards that only.
Political pressure?
Yes.
What about something that's even more worrying? Reports in the papers suggest, they're not confirmed, but they suggest that the majority of people being targeted were Muslims, they were being done by Hindus. Is there a sense in which the police force is becoming communal and that's why they didn't act?
No, I don't think so.
You're sure?
Yeah. Because now you will see that action is being taken, it will be taken against both the communities.
But let me tell you why I raise this question. Is the police force becoming communal? Because there are a series of videos on social media which show the police standing and watching as mobs set fire to Muslim houses and shops. Again, the police using sticks, lathis, to prod Muslims lying on the ground and make them sing Jana Gana Mana. There is a video where the police themselves are either throwing stones or giving it to people to throw. All of that suggests terrible communalization.
So the trouble is much deeper, that means. And we have to find out the reasons why is this happening.
But you accept that these videos are proof of communalization.
Yes, if I have not seen these videos, but in case such videos exist, they definitely go against the police.
And you know the amazing thing? These videos have been available on social media for 3 or 4 days. There is total silence from the police hierarchy, not a
The
word.
police should have seized these videos. They should not have allowed them to be shown around, because that creates a very bad effect. It will make the police ineffective and make the public turn against them.
And once again, the police leadership, starting from the Commissioner Amulya Patnaik onwards, have done nothing. So when they do nothing, doesn't it suggest they're either not
Yes.
worried or they don't care or they don't know what to do?
No, it's not that they don't care. They are indifferent due to other reasons. They don't want to get involved in anything which is controversial. So they keep themselves away even though a serious crime is taking place in front of their eyes. Suppose Muslim's house is being burnt or anything like that, that's a serious crime. And if you don't take action at that time, that is very serious.
You know, you use the word, this shows that they are indifferent. We've discussed the possibility that they've come under political pressure.
Yes.
But there is another possibility. These people who are leaders of the police lack spine. They lack moral character.
Yeah, they will have to take this allegation now.
They will have to face that.
Yeah.
So you agree, this allegation that top policemen, starting from the commissioner downwards, lack spine and lack moral character, this is a real allegation.
This is in the present case, it seems so.
It seems so.
I will not say it generally.
But in the present case,
Yes, in the present case, it seems so.
the sad part is that the police inactivity, mishandling, failure to act properly, call it what you want, during the recent Delhi riots is not the first time the Delhi police have been accused of unprofessionalism. In December, they stormed into Jamia Millia, they damaged the library, they thrashed students in the library. Then in January, they stood as spectators when there was violence in JNU and did nothing and let the violence continue. There seems to be a recent history of the police not acting properly.
Yes, these last few months, they have come under a cloud and they have not, they're seen in very light which is definitely not good.
Are you worried? Are you seriously worried?
No, I'm serious because if this thing prevails and it goes further, then there will be chaos.
So we are at the point where if corrective action isn't
Not
taken,
taken,
there will be chaos.
But serious thinking will have to be done. It's not this that you remove some person or punish some person, suspend some people. This is not going to have any effect.
Before I take a break, do you have any sense of how and why this rot in the police began?
It's only one reason. They are not insulated from politics. I'm saying this very seriously. And you don't insulate it for some more time, and you will see that there will be no police. There may be police in name, but there will be no police action anywhere.
The claim that the police are not insulated from politics, as you know,
Yeah.
has been made many times over many years and decades.
But nothing has been done to correct it.
But has it got worse in the last 5-6
It is
years?
getting worse every day. It is getting worse every day. It is very easy to win an election with the support of the police because police can do anything. It's very difficult to win an election after doing something substantial to show to the people that we've done this. So the best thing is that you get a license for somebody, oblige him, get somebody's license cancelled, suspended, or get a person released from a murder case. These type of things people do with the police. And
So-
the officers are behaving in such a manner that they listen to all this.
So I'm going to end this part by just one question. This is a very bad time for the Delhi police.
Yes, definitely.
A bad time.
Bad time.
Let's take a break at that point. When I come back, I want to talk to you about what should be done to correct the situation. Otherwise, as you said, we could be hurtling towards chaos. But first, a message from our sponsor, Get Live It, as I take a reassuring sip from this glass.
Take a little trip with me, I'm gonna take you home.
Take a little history
Take a little
down this lane of memories.
down this lane.
So let's raise another glass for the glorious past and the friends we have become. Yeah, yeah, 'cause little did we know the good times come and go, but the best is yet to come.
Welcome back to a special interview for The Wire. My guest is former Commissioner of Police in Delhi, former Director General of the Border Security Force, Ajay Raj Sharma. Mr. Sharma has just this month published a book that I think should be compulsory reading for everyone, particularly after what you've heard him say in part one of this interview. It's called Biting the Bullet. It's about his career in the police force. But now I'm going to talk to Mr. Sharma about what he believes needs to be done to correct the rot in the Delhi police. Mr. Sharma, the Delhi police force is said to be something like 80,000-90,000 strong. It has an annual budget of 8,000 crore. Prakash Singh says it's the best resourced police in the country. Yet you just explained to me that the rot has set in so deep that if it's not connected, we will be in chaos. What do we need to do?
The very first thing to be done is to insulate it from politics. They should have no fear of any politician, and they should just obey the law of the land, and whatever according to law is wrong, they should take action. That is the first point.
How do you insulate them from politics?
Here in Delhi, there is a commissioner, special commissioners, joint commissioners, and coming down to DCPs. There should be no politics in their posting. They should be posted on their seniority and merit, and they should have a fixed tenure. Until unless they do something by which they come to notice of doing wrong things or illegal things or indulging in corruption, till then there should be no interference in their transfer and postings. And if they are getting promoted and their tenure is not complete, then of course that's a different issue.
What you're saying is very similar to what are called colloquially the Prakash Singh guidelines laid down by the Supreme Court 14 years ago in 2006.
Yes, that what he has recommended is very correct.
Except the problem is, as he himself admits, Mr. Prakash Singh admits this, very few states have implemented them. They've actually defied the Supreme Court, and even those that have implemented them have only done it in name, not really in spirit.
They have not touched the real issues. For example, if the Director General of a state has to be selected, 3-4 names, the senior most, should be considered, and whoever is the ablest should be given the charge. And the others, of course, should not be. They can be. These days, these posts are more than one in the state. They can go to the other.
Instead, what happens is that chief ministers choose their favorite,
Yeah,
knowing he will do favors for them.
Yeah, that's correct.
This must stop.
This must stop. This is the first thing which should be done.
You said the first thing is to stop political interference,
Yes.
isolate the police. What's
Yeah.
the second?
The second is that we must look into our own force. What's wrong with them? I find the discipline is not the same. So action should be taken to enforce discipline. I find that corruption is increasing every day. That must be stopped. And third is that professionalism must be, you see, I'll tell you something which nobody will say. When a common man comes into contact, what is his first point of contact? His first point of contact is the police station. And there are constables over there and head constables. Whatever impression they create on the mind of that man, that will be the image of police in his mind. He will not meet an IPS officer or senior officers. So we have to upgrade the constabulary, the head constabulary and the Thana staff. They must become more professional, they must become very polite, and this can only be done through proper training. And the training, I think, for these people in today's world, where the crimes are going up, new types of crimes are coming, technical stuff is there, so they have to get a longer training. There is no sense in allowing these boys to continue studying after 10th class or 12th class. There they go to colleges and universities where there is only politics. They'll only get spoilt. Besides, their parents have to pay money to keep them going.
You mean the police should train them and educate them?
No, we should pick up these boys much earlier and give them a longer training, make them a graduate. They should study all the police subjects. There are so many subjects in the police that there is enough to make them graduates, and give them the physical training that is required. Even the physical training now has to be better than before.
What you're saying in many ways echoes what the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval said. And remember, Ajit Doval has a police background like you do.
Yeah.
This is what he said on Wednesday. He said, people don't trust the men in uniform. People are doubting the capabilities and intentions of the Delhi police. You're saying the same thing?
Yeah. The police is supposed to be a bulwark between anarchy and order. But they are not coming up to that standard at all.
In England, people look upon the policeman as a bobby and a friend.
Yes.
In India, we look upon the policeman with suspicion, if not fear.
Yes.
That has to be removed.
So it should be seen, why did the same people, the Englishmen, create a bobby who commands so much respect in the society, and create this constable in India who is not even properly respected?
And this has to change.
This has to change.
And the police force itself has to do it.
No, police itself will not be able to do it, but they should do whatever they can. It is ultimately the government will have to realize. You see, the whole problem is that they don't realize what is police and what they are meant for. This law and order and all, that's fine. I'll tell you a very small thing, an example. In the villages, there is only a police station. Actually, practically, there is no other presence of any government in the village. Only the police is there. And you know, all sorts of wicked men are there. They're strong people. On a Friday night, they decide that they should capture this land belonging to Mr. X. They go and capture it. Now that Mr. X, the poor Mr. X, where should he go? The only place he can go to is the police station. There is no court, there is no justice available over there. So he goes to the police station. And the police there is corrupt. They are not willing to give justice. What will happen? When this man goes to the court on Monday, the possession, that man will already be in possession. And possession is half the matter. So he is unlikely to get justice after that. That man is already powerful. This man will not be able to win the case. So that is the importance. People are saying that judiciary should be independent. Why not the police?
You're saying a very important thing. Your illustration shows that actually in villages, which is where the majority of India lives, the only face of government is the police.
Yes.
But if they are corrupt, if they don't function properly, not just administration, but justice never happens.
Yes, it will never take place.
So in a very real sense, the police are the backbone of administration and justice and governance, particularly in villages.
Now I'll tell you something more. The judiciary is independent. Now I take the criminal cases because I'm a policeman. They say that police has witnesses in their pocket. They can't get evidence. They will create false evidence, and all sorts of things are saying that they are corrupt. They will create evidence, and now these cases which are charge sheeted by the police go before the judiciary. And on what can they give the judgment? On the evidence available. If that evidence is not just, it's not correct, then what is the judiciary going to do?
So you're saying something even more important. You're saying that quite often the
This is what I'm trying to. I am trying to explain the importance of police in the society, which I am 100% sure that 99.9% don't understand.
But you're saying something critical. Even in criminal cases, where the police provide the evidence, if the evidence is fake, if it's made up, if it's false, there's no justice.
Yes.
And you're once again suggesting that at the center of the reforms that India needs is reform of the police. Yes. And you're saying
that is the biggest reform.
And you're saying a lot of this can be done by the police, but it has to happen under political direction.
Yes, it will never happen if the direction is not there.
Do you think any politician, not just the Modi government, do you think any politician is aware of this or is willing to do it?
I don't think. Somebody whom I don't know and has this, they know the importance of police, I can't say. But the people I have met in my life, they don't seem to understand it.
In other words, there's no real hope of correction then?
Generally, police political interference hota hai, ye hota hai. But what it leads to, they don't understand.
And therefore, they are not willing to correct?
Yes.
My last issue, and I've deliberately left it to the last, do you think there is also a need for the police to look at the quality of leadership within the police? I'm going to use the Delhi riots as an example. The commissioner retires tomorrow. He hasn't had a glorious record. Do you think he has been a mistake?
Leadership is the most important thing required in the police. You know, army leadership is very, very important. But army has the advantage. Things are in line and they are all set up, they happen correctly. Police, this is not the case. Police, all sorts of interference come in. They have to face, their working hours not defined, their holidays are not defined. I mean, their working conditions are very, very bad.
So the
leadership is very important. They must still maintain a high morale. They must look up to their leader and think कि जब तक ये है, we are well.
So was Amulya Patnaik the wrong man to be made Commissioner of Police in Delhi?
That will not be proper for me to pass a judgment on. The government made him and he has a good record. There is no doubt. He is a very honest officer.
Let me ask you a different question. Do you think when you look back on his time that he failed to live up to what the job required of him? I'm not just talking about the Delhi riots or JNU or Jamia. I'm also talking about the fact that in November, the police themselves were protesting, their families were protesting, and many people said Mr. Patnaik was not able to even handle that.
Yes, he has been through very tough times and he had to pass a very difficult test all the time.
Did he pass it?
Well, I don't think so. But what were his disadvantages, I don't know. He must be having some constraints. So I will not like to pass a judgment on the present police commissioner.
But the important thing you said is that he didn't pass the test. And I admire you and thank you for your candor. It can't be easy as a former police commissioner being critical of the force you served for 40 years. But I thank you for having done so. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.